The Chapter 6 exam will ask you to perform some ratio analysis for two companies and make some comparisons. To help prepare you for that, I'll work through exercise 6-21, which is very similar. We'll have a copy of it here, but you can also see it on page 237 in the text. So here we have American Greetings Corporation and CSX Corporation, two very, very different companies. We're given data from their most recent financial statements at the date of this textbook for 2012. Now, these are going to be substantially different in size, so one company is presented in thousands and the other in millions, but the relationships will still be evident. So we're given the sales, depreciation, net earnings or net income, current assets, property, plant, and equipment, or their long-term operational assets, and their total assets. We're asked to calculate depreciation cost as a percentage of sales for each company, then the property, plant, and equipment as a percentage of total assets for each company. Then based on this, we're asked to decide which data relates to which company and explain how we determine that. And then, most importantly, which company appears to be using its assets most efficiently. So let's do some calculations first. So Part A asks us to calculate depreciation as a percentage of sales. So for Company 1, we have depreciation of $34,210. Our sales, $1,695,144, so that's 2%. For Company 2, $1,059 to $11,756, so that's 9%. And again, we don't need to know whether it's thousands or millions. It's a relative portion of depreciation to sales. Part B asks us to calculate property, plant, and equipment as a percentage of total assets for each company. So for Company 1, our property, plant, and equipment, $277,597, against total assets of $1,549,464, so that's 17.9%. For Company 2, $24,974 versus $30,571, or 81.7%, so a huge difference here in the relative size. Part C, based on the information that we now have, which data relates to which company, and explain why. Well, if we look at the relative size, we would expect that CSX, a rail company, would have a much larger fixed asset investment or property, plant, and equipment investment. Even though it's in thousands and millions, we can see that Company 2 has 81.7% of its total assets in property and equipment. So Company 2 would most certainly be CSX. A greeting card company would not have that much investment. They would have an investment in probably a plant to produce the cards, but nothing like what CSX would have. And finally, Part D, which company appears to be using its assets most efficiently? Now, to determine efficiency, we would look at the ratio of net earnings or net income to the total assets. So for Company 1, which we think is American Greetings, $57,198 to $1,549,464, so that's 3.7% return on assets or net income for every dollar of assets invested. For Company 2 or CSX, $1,859 divided by $30,571, or 6.1%. So this is a good way to make a comparison across companies of vastly different sizes. It's not the amount of the net income or even the total amount of assets they have, it's the amount of income relative to those assets. So here Company 2 is clearly managing and utilizing its assets more efficiently than Company 1. So that's the exercise for Chapter 6. Again, if you're comfortable with this, then you should have no problem with the exam. Again, let me know if you have any questions.